Hi, welcome to the Hersey House. I'm Jeremiah Hersey, and today we're going to be talking about how to create a date table inside of Power BI. Now, sometimes a date table is already created for us, but what happens when we want to look at some time intelligence functions, but we don't have that date table? So let's take a look at our Power BI desktop and get started. So here we are in the Power BI desktop, and I have this bank list table with a list of all the bank names. I have a list of their closing dates and what city and state that they closed in as well. So of course I can look at some basic visualizations with this. So I could look at the bank name by state. So I can take a total count of the bank. And I can see that Georgia has the most failed banks, followed by Florida and Illinois and so on and so forth. But what if I want to look at this over time? Like, what if I want to look at the number of closed banks over months or over years? How can I do that if I don't have a date table? Well, you can actually create a date table inside of the Power BI desktop pretty quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our data view. So our data view is this one right here in the middle. It looks like the table. This is our data view. So over in our data view, we can actually see all of the information within inside of our tables. But what we're going to do is we're going to create an additional table, a date table, so that way we can do some time intelligence functions. So we're going to click New Table. And so if you haven't worked with DAX before, I'll just give you a quick preview of how this works. So with DAX, and DAX is data analysis expression language, and that's inside of the Power BI desktop. And so DAX is used to create calculated tables, columns, and measures. In this case, we're going to create a date table. Now, when using DAX, anything to the left-hand side of the equal sign is going to be the name, and anything to the right-hand side of the equal sign is the expression. So I'm going to call this my calendar table. All right, and so when creating a calendar inside of the Power BI desktop, you have two options. So the first one is the calendar function, and so you actually choose a start and an end date with this calendar function. So you would have to know, approximately when you had your first data and when your last set of data was. But there's this cool function called Calendarauto. And Calendarauto essentially looks at your data and it finds the first day of the year and the last day of the year. So let me explain what I mean. So let's say you had a transaction March of 2016, and then your last transaction was September of 2020. Calendarauto will take January 1st of 2016 and December 31st of 2020. So the Calendarauto takes the first day of the year from whenever a transaction was made and the last day of the year from when a transaction was made. So we're going to use Calendarauto, and I'm just going to close up the parenthesis. So this is going to create, it's going to look through my data and create a list of dates, and I now have my date table. But additionally, we're going to want some other columns like the month, the year individually. So what we can do is we can extract that from our date column. So what I'm going to do is create a new calculated column. So I'm at the top, I'm going to choose new column. So what I'm going to extract from this is the year. Okay, so this is a look into the time intelligence functions. So we're going to extract the year from this date. So notice that it returns the year as a 4-digit integer. So I'm going to hit tab, and it's going to ask me, where do I want to pull this date from? So because I'm already in the calendar table, I'm going to use a square bracket to pull back my date column. Additionally, what I could do is a single tick mark to identify what table. So in this case, my calendar table, and then my date. So you can reference either just the column within the table if you're already in the table itself, or you can reference the table and the column name inside of your DAX function. So this will extract the year from all of our dates. Perfect. So now we probably want the month as well. So let's go ahead and create a new column. So you can either go right here in the column tools, new column, or you can always choose the home tab and new column will be right there as well. All right, so let's pull out the month. Okay, so we're going to call this the month number. Okay, so with the month number, we're going to extract the number from this date. So we're going to use our month function. Okay, so the month function returns a number from 1 to 12. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And remember, we're going to reference that date column. So I can either use a square bracket to call out to just my date column, or I can use a single tick mark to call out to my calendar table and then call out to my date column. Your preference. Okay. If you use the table name, you will never have an issue. So just best practice, if you put the table name in there before the column, you're not going to have any issues with it being able to find what column you're talking about. So we're going to go ahead and hit the enter. And now we have 1 for January, 2 for February, 3 for March, and so on and so forth. But what if I want to extract the month name? Right? When you typically think of January, February, March, those kind of things, you think of the actual month name. Well, how do I pull that back? We're going to do that using the format function. Okay, so we're going to click new column. And for this one, we're going to just call this our month. Okay, because we're typically used to seeing month as a name, not a number. So I'm going to use the format function. And the format function converts a value to text using a specified format. So essentially, you can either take a date or a number and convert it into whatever format you want. So we're going to convert this date column, and then it's going to ask us how we want to format it. Well, this is super cool. So if we want just the month name, we're going to use double quotes, and we're going to put 4 M's. 4 M's is going to return the entire month name for that column. So notice I get January. Okay. If I use 3 M's, that's going to return the abbreviated month. Notice I get Jan. And then if I wanted the 2-digit number, of course, I just used 2 M's, but we already have that in our month number column, so we don't necessarily need it, but you can extract it that way as well. Additionally, you can also add days and years into this as well. So I could say I want the abbreviated month, I want the day, and I want the 4-digit year. So when I hit enter, it will format it to exactly that. So January 1st of 2000. So the format function is extremely useful when you're trying to convert to a specific date format. And so we're just going to use this as the full month name for right now. So we have our date, we have our year, our month number. So let's go ahead and create a visualization on this. So we're going to go back to our report view. It's this one at the top. Go to our report view. And so this is important when you're trying to relate two different tables. Oftentimes there has to be, or not oftentimes, there has to be some kind of connection between your tables in order for them to talk. For instance, if I were to pull in a basic visualization, we'll change that one back. All right, I'm just going to pull in a stat column chart, and I'm going to look at the bank names by month. Notice that all of my columns are the same. This is a good indicator that there is not a relationship between your tables. So here I did the count of bank by state, which is fine because both of those columns are within the same table. But when I did count of bank name by month, notice that all of them appear to be the same, 563. This is a good indicator in your visualization that your tables are not talking to each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our model view, which is this third one down here. This is where we can see the relationships between our tables. And notice I have my calendar table, I have my bank list table, but there's no relationship between the two. So what I'm going to do is create a relationship between the date and the closing date of my bank list table. This is going to create a relationship that is essentially a one-to-many relationship. Your date table should always be on the one side, or your calendar table. This means that there is one distinct date in every one of these columns. So the same date never repeats itself. I could have multiple banks closing on the same day. Okay, that's the mini side. That's the symbol right here. So many banks could close on the same day, but when relating it in my calendar table, there is only one date. For even if there's 5 banks that fail on the same day, in the date table, it's only one date. So that's the one-to-many relationship. It created automatically by looking at my 2 different tables and deciding what relationship was best. I can additionally click on the relationship to see what relationship is made. And if I double click into the relationship, I can also see what kind of relationship, and you can also change it as well. So if I wanted to change it from one to many or many to one, I could change it from right here. So I could change it to a one-to-one or one to many or many to many. So your choice. Additionally, you can also change the filter direction, but you never want to filter your date table. If you filter your date table, time intelligence functions will not work. So when you're talking about this directional filter right here, you always want it pointing towards your fact table. Okay, so this is what's known as a dimension table today. And this one is known as the fact table. So your fact table will always be on the mini side on the relationship. So you have a fact table, and the dimension table will be your calendar, and it will always be the one side of the relationship for time intelligence functions. So now let's take a look at our report view. Notice that now my visualization is starting to work, but we have some issues. Notice that my months are not in order. I have the highest one first, which is July, but typically when we talk about the count of bank name by month, we want them in ascending order. We want it from January to December. That's how we expect to see it. So we have to do some formatting options with this. So anytime you're creating relationship between tables, your visualizations might not depict what you want them to. And so we can do a little bit of sorting and filtering to make this work. So in every visualization, there's these 3 little dots right here. This will allow us to sort. So currently it's sorting by the count of bank name, whichever one has the most. We want to sort this by the month. So I want to put it in month order. So notice now it's putting in month order, but it's September, October, November. It's going in descending order. So once again, I want to change that, and I'm going to sort it to ascending. Okay, so we're looking better. But now notice it's sorting them alphabetically. A, D, F, J. So in order to fix this, what we're going to do is we're going to select the column month. Okay, so over from our fields pane, we're going to select month. So just choose the name. And we're going to use our column tools to sort the column by the month number. So instead of sorting it by the month name, we want to sort it by the month number because it's going to look at the logical order of the numbers and put them correctly. So now once I do that, notice that my visualization is now correct. So it's using the month in the visual, but it's actually sorting by the month number. So that was done under the column tool. So once again, I selected month, and then I told it to sort the column by the month number. So this gave me my visualization in the correct order. Well, I hope this helps you create a date or a calendar table to really take advantage of some of those time intelligence functions. To look, we didn't go too deep into it this time, but you could do year-over-year averages, month-over-month. You can even do 12-month rolling averages. But in order to do any of that, you need a date or a calendar table. So it can be done in the Power Query editor. It's a little more advanced. But here in the Power BI desktop with the simple Calendarauto function, we were able to create a list of dates based on our data and create additional columns like the year, the month, and the month number. And then really tie that all in together with our visualizations. Well, I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next one.